Weber with the Potluck Society across the desk at me at the SDPB, from me at the SDPB studios at the University of Sioux Falls. Hugh, welcome.
I am so excited to be with you today.
I'm so excited for this guest because one of my favorite words is in there, introvert.
Right.
Introverts, pay attention. Turn on your radio. Sit in your car. You don't want to leave.
That's right. Everything about this story struck me as a curiosity from the moment I heard it. This is a early 30s travel agent or advisor, which that alone was enough to spark my imagination. But he is the founder and chief explorer of IntroverTravels, a travel agency, a travel advisory focused right at those curious introverts. And what he says is are unique experiences in locations that emphasize nature, culture, and history. So he's got this bucket of travel nerds and introverts that he just loves. Funny story in that I interviewed him yesterday in my home. And my wife came home at the end of the day and said, "Do you have a picture? I'm just curious." And I pulled it up and she said, "I really imagine someone a lot older and frumpier." He's a young guy, energetic, very passionate. But it was clear from the start that this isn't just a job for Jacob. I asked him the question, what is it about travel that intrigues you?
The experience of traveling for me, I love that. It sounds kind of waxing poetic, but literally I love the feeling of leaving an airport for the first time. To get that stamp on your passport, to exit the airport door and to be in a completely new place, surrounded by a different culture, different languages, different smells, and it can be overwhelming. I think it usually takes a day or two to even just get your bearings straight, but it's that sort of disorientation that I think is sort of exciting and gets you ready for an adventure ahead. I think travel forces you to be smarter. I think that not everything goes according to plan, and I think sometimes those particularly frustrating or stressful circumstances that we inevitably find ourselves in when we're traveling actually teaches us later that we're smarter or savvier than we ever thought we were. And I think that I know personally that I can do more than I gave myself credit for before traveling.
This idea of disorientation or getting lost reminds me of the conversation with Tyler Reed weeks and even months ago. But I don't know about you, but when I come back from most vacations, especially now with children, I feel like I need a second vacation to recover from it. So Jacob talks about this unique approach to travel design that involves two parts of unstructured recharge time balanced with one part of what he calls mind-blowing experiences. I love the role that he plays in giving his clients permission to actually enjoy their vacations.
Coming back from a vacation only to feel like you're more drained than you left isn't, to me, necessarily the point of travel. And everybody travels for different reasons. But I think by building in a structure that gives yourself permission to either sleep in or to read a book in your underwear or to just do yoga or something for an afternoon, I think a lot of people think, well, I've just flown all this way and I'm supposed to be just maximizing every minute and seeing this and that and the other thing. And I think it's okay to give yourself permission to slow down, to say, I'm tired, or I just want to enjoy tea on my balcony as I watch the sunrise. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And so to feel this, I think it is a guilt. And so I try to kind of encourage my clients to say, give yourself permission to travel slower, to travel at a pace that's comfortable for yourself. And if you only have one or two mind-blowing experiences throughout the day, that's okay. That's still pretty good. So being able to enjoy the experience in whatever the way that is for you. If you want to pack it in every moment of every day, then I'm happy to do that for my clients. But I think most of us probably fall kind of somewhere in the middle where it's a balancing act of rest and recharge and still getting your time's worth out of your trips.
He's speaking to my heart at the very least. I was trying to convince him before the end of the interview to help me plan a trip with my wife because she's very much the same way.
Okay, so the extroverts don't get this, and that's okay. That's right. Cram your trip with everything that you want and go for it. But the introverts are saying, yes, I need that permission slip. I love that.
Yeah, no, and I like that he acknowledges that it's guilt, right, that drives that you've spent this money, you've taken this time, you're not at work, you're maybe away from your family, and it's still okay to just enjoy it. So this last clip, and I want to make sure we get to it. This last clip is my favorite clip. I think it's where Jacob's magic is really clear. I just asked him what his goal is as a travel advisor, and he gave this answer.
As an advisor for my clients' trips, I love to be able to sort of orchestrate an experience. And I actually use the analogy of being an orchestra conductor a lot of times when I explain what it is or my philosophy of travel, because sometimes it's those moments where it crescendos into just some beautiful, every instrument is playing at forte and fortissimo, and it's just like those are the watching the lions hunt its prey in Africa. Those are the seeing Machu Picchu for the first time, those crescendo type moments. But in order to appreciate those, I also think that it's the subtlety of the flutes that you hear in the background. And that might be just finding this perfect little gelato stand in Italy, or just having a conversation with somebody from a different culture that you relate to, and you realize that even though you're totally different, we're all still kind of the same. And so it's like those little moments that don't have to be expensive or difficult. They can just be part of life. And those are the moments that I enjoy sharing with my clients as well. And so kind of pacing it out and creating an experience and orchestrating an experience that is better than something that they could do for themselves. That's my main goal as a travel advisor.
Hugh Weber is with us in the Potluck Society. You're listening to Jacob Marek, founder and chief explorer of IntroverTravels. The business you didn't know you needed until you just heard that, and now you're looking him up. How'd you find him?
He actually came through a recommendation of a past guest, the duo of Pony Creek Studios that I'd interviewed about Whitewall and other musical endeavors. I got a Facebook message saying, I think we found someone that you need to talk to. And right. Jacob and I sat down over coffee, and because I wanted to ease in. I mean, it says introvert right in his his business title. Yeah. And then we got together yesterday and just had this wonderful extended conversation about his work.
He said something in that last clip, too, that was about the expense. And I think that's another thing we could dig into a little bit, because one of the reasons people don't enjoy their vacation is maybe you're overspending, and you know the consequences when you come home are going to be, but there's the guilt. Well, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. We should do this. We should do that. Permission to spend less.
That's right. And I think he balances, one of the things I really admired about the conversation with Jacob is I brought up Paris, and he said, well, that's a place I haven't been, and it's a place that I don't book because I don't know it well, and it's not a space that I'm an expert in. He's really honed this craft of balance, whether it's in time and level of experience, but I also assume the ability to meet and engage budgets of all sorts. He does work here in the U.S., and so it need not always be Machu Picchu, although that sounds particularly glamorous to me. But I asked him a question late in the interview that'll be in the podcast of, I grew up in counties where people had lived their entire lives, and some of them had never left Clark or Grant County, much less leaving the state or the country. And I just said, what advice do you have for someone like that? And he acknowledged that I can understand the anxiety of that, like making a big decision, leaving the country for the first time, going someplace where you don't know the language. And he just said, you just go. You just go. Like, this life is short. These experiences make for memories of a lifetime that get passed down generationally, and you just go.
Is there a sense that people of his generation, younger people, are feeling that need again to reach out to a travel planner for help when they, the pressure is on to just click and book and make your own plans?
Yeah, I think there's such self-awareness in what it is he does and doesn't do. He said if you're looking for a cheap hotel or the easiest flight path to a business experience, Kayak and Expedia, and he listed the laundry. These are all great things. But if you're looking at someone who's created a craft and a practice and an expertise in designing an arc of experience, like an orchestra composition, then you need to go to someone that can help you think through that and can listen to you, can hear what your desires are, because sometimes you pick up that guidebook and it says you're in Washington, D.C., you've got to hit these 10 museums. And maybe all you need to hit is 2, and then you need to go to Ben's Chili Bowl and have an incredible meal in D.C. And those are the things that don't appear when you're just Googling the best locations in a given community.
Bring your book, bring your underwear, because apparently that's part of every introvert's vacation. It's just a little bit of quiet time to recharge.
That's right.
Are you finding through the Potluck Society that these people that you're drawn to are the ones who have a philosophy of whatever their life work is, that they have taken the time to think about it deeply and develop their own philosophy or ethos about it?
Yeah, I think the key is that they've thought about it. I'm not sure that all have gotten to a point where they can articulate it as succinctly as Jacob does, but I think that they've spent a lot of time trying to figure out who they are, how they see the world, who the people are that they hope to connect with, and it makes them transparent in a really positive way. It makes their story so clear from the moment they start speaking, and it really sings to me.
And how about overcoming that? We just have about 30 seconds left. Overcoming that pressure that you get from society to move faster, to do more, to not think about what you're doing, but to act. Answer that email.
Yeah, I think we all know that when we take that moment to slow down and have a cup of coffee with a friend, or share a story on a train with a stranger, that magical things can happen. And sometimes we just, as Jacob said, sometimes we just need the permission to do so.
All right, you have permission today to slow down, to take care of yourself, and to think about why you're doing what you're doing, not just what you're doing. Hugh Weber, Potluck Society. Find it on our website, listen.sdpb.org. Download it on iTunes or wherever you source your podcasts. Hugh, it is always a pleasure. You always bring an interesting story.
I can't wait to see you next week.
You bet. All right, tomorrow on In the Moment, it's The Beep, heard round the world. We talk about the legacy of Sputnik and South Dakota's role in holding ground during the Cold War. Dr. Julie Ryland joins us to talk about innovations in breast cancer treatment that specifically help rural South Dakotans. Plus, the Dakota Political Junkies are with us. From all of us at South Dakota Public Broadcasting, thanks to our guests, thanks to the SDPB crew, and thanks to you. Thanks for listening.